Take it all, the Black Widow declares, sliding the deed across the dusty table to the towering Apache giant as the entire frontier town watches in stunned silence. But at dawn, his entire tribe comes. The cursed woman everyone whispers about has finally lost her mind. 3 dead husbands weren't enough. Now she's handing her ranch to a savage. The townspeople assume she'll die forgotten within the month. Another cautionary tale about trusting the wrong people. But the giant carries secrets darker than his imposing shadow, bound by an ancient debt that stretches back decades. Hidden beneath their unlikely alliance lies a 20-year-old promise that could either destroy them both or forge the most dangerous partnership the frontier has ever seen. When hundreds of Apache warriors appear on the horizon at sunrise, will they come as friends or enemies? Before we continue, comment where you are tuning in from. Perhaps we will publish a story there. The dust swirled around Anna Harris as Elias Carter slammed the legal papers onto the general store counter. Every eye in Esperanza turned toward the commotion. Carter's voice boomed across the crowded room. $800 in back taxes, widow. 48 hours or the ranch is mine. Anna's weathered hands trembled as she picked up the documents. The numbers blurred before her eyes. 22 years of building a life with Samuel, and now this vulture wanted to strip it away. Please, Mr. Carter, there must be some mistake. Carter's laugh was sharp and cold. No mistake. Your husband's been dead 3 years. Time to face reality. The store fell silent except for the shuffle of boots and whispered conversations. Anna caught fragments of the familiar gossip that followed her everywhere. Cursed woman. 3 dead husbands. Bad luck follows her like a shadow. Mrs. Henderson leaned toward her neighbor, not bothering to lower her voice. Mark my words. She'll be in the ground within a month. That woman brings death to everything she touches. Anna clutched the papers tighter and pushed through the crowd. Their stares burned into her back as she stepped onto the wooden sidewalk. The afternoon sun felt merciless against her pale skin. She walked home along the dusty trail that wound through the scrub brush and scattered oak trees. The modest cabin appeared ahead, surrounded by 500 acres of grazing land that Samuel had loved more than life itself. Anna had promised his grave she would never let strangers take what they had built together. Inside the cabin, she pulled Samuel's old wooden chest from under their bed. Her fingers traced the worn leather of his journal, filled with sketches of wildlife and notes about the land. She had read every page countless times, but tonight felt different, desperate. The next morning brought unwelcome visitors. Anna spotted the dust cloud long before the riders reached her fence line. Carter approached with 2 men she didn't recognize, their faces hard beneath wide-brimmed hats. Come to inspect my future property, Carter announced, dismounting near her porch. Hope you're packing, widow. Tomorrow's your last day. Anna stood in her doorway, gripping the frame for support. The day isn't over yet. Carter's companions spread out across her yard, examining the barn and the well like buyers at an auction. One of them kicked at the fence posts, testing their strength. Anna watched her life being appraised and found wanting. After they left, she wandered the property boundaries, gathering kindling for the evening fire. The routine calmed her racing thoughts. Samuel used to say that hard work could cure any worry, but tonight even his wisdom felt hollow. Near the eastern fence line, she discovered something that made her blood run cold. A man lay unconscious beneath a cluster of mesquite trees. His massive frame dwarfed the surrounding shrubs. Blood stained his torn shirt, and his breathing came in shallow gasps. Anna approached cautiously. The stranger was larger than any man she had ever seen, with copper skin and long black hair braided with leather strips. An Apache warrior. Her neighbors would call her insane for what she was about to do. She struggled to drag him toward the cabin, stopping every few yards to catch her breath. His weight nearly defeated her, but something about his peaceful expression reminded her of Samuel's face in sleep. This man was somebody's husband, somebody's son. In the barn, she cleaned his wounds with water and torn fabric from her oldest dress. The stranger stirred occasionally but remained unconscious. Anna noticed the intricate silver armband around his thick wrist, decorated with symbols she didn't recognize. For 3 days, she brought him water and changed his bandages. The town would explode with rage if they discovered an Apache warrior recovering in the Black Widow's barn. But Anna found herself caring less about their opinions with each passing hour. On the 4th morning, the stranger's eyes opened. They were dark brown, alert, and surprisingly gentle. He struggled to sit up, wincing from the pain in his ribs. Anna offered him a cup of water. "Easy now, you're hurt bad." He studied her face, then glanced around the barn. When he tried to speak, only Apache words emerged. Anna shook her head, showing she didn't understand. The warrior pointed to himself and spoke slowly. "Mountain Thunder." Anna repeated the name, and he nodded. She pointed to herself. "Anna." Mountain Thunder reached for his silver armband, touching the symbols etched into its surface. He looked at Anna with an expression of deep curiosity, as if trying to solve a puzzle. That evening, Anna sat beside Samuel's grave, reading his journal by lamplight. A passage caught her attention that she had somehow missed before. Samuel's careful handwriting described a blizzard in the winter of 1856. He had been lost in the mountains, nearly frozen to death, when an Apache warrior found him. The warrior carried Samuel for miles through the snow to safety. Samuel had drawn detailed sketches of his rescuer, including the distinctive silver armband the man wore. At the bottom of the page, Samuel had written his solemn promise. Anna's hand shook as she read the final line. "If his people ever need this land, it belongs to them." She looked up at the stars scattered across the endless sky. Tomorrow, Carter would come to claim her ranch. But tonight, she finally understood why fate had brought Mountain Thunder to her fence line. The silver armband matched Samuel's drawings exactly. Anna woke before dawn with Samuel's journal clutched against her chest. The words echoed in her mind like a prayer. If his people ever need this land, it belongs to them. She had found her answer. Mountain Thunder was already awake when she entered the barn. He sat propped against the wall, examining his silver armband in the morning light. Anna approached slowly, carrying the journal open to Samuel's sketches. She placed the book before him and pointed to the drawing of the armband. Mountain Thunder's eyes widened. He touched the sketch, then his own armband, understanding flooding his weathered face. Anna pointed to Samuel's name written at the top of the page. "Samuel, my husband." Mountain Thunder nodded solemnly. He pressed his hand to his chest and spoke a single word in Apache. Then he switched to broken English. "Saved. Snow. Long time." The pieces fell into place like stones in a riverbed. This giant of a man had carried her dying husband through a blizzard 22 years ago. Samuel had never forgotten the debt, and now Anna would honor it. She helped Mountain Thunder to his feet and led him toward the cabin. His limp was severe, but his strength was returning. Anna gathered her legal papers from the kitchen table, including the deed to the ranch. Carter would arrive soon with his threats and deadlines, but Anna had made her choice. The dust cloud appeared on the horizon just after breakfast. Carter rode up with Sheriff Morrison and 2 witnesses, ready to claim his prize. Anna stood on her porch with Mountain Thunder beside her, towering over them all. Carter dismounted with a satisfied grin. "Time's up, widow. Hope you enjoyed your last night in my house." Anna walked down the porch steps, holding the deed in her steady hands. The morning sun cast long shadows across the yard as the men gathered around her. "You're right, Mr. Carter. This ranch no longer belongs to me." Carter's grin widened. He reached for the papers, but Anna pulled them back. "I've transferred the deed, legally and properly witnessed in town yesterday." She handed the document to Sheriff Morrison, who unfolded it with confusion. His face went pale as he read the new owner's name. "Anna Harris hereby transfers all rights and ownership of this property to Mountain Thunder of the Apache Nation." Carter snatched the deed from Morrison's hands. His face turned red as he scanned the legal language. Every signature was in order. Every requirement had been met. "This is impossible. You can't give land to a savage." Anna's voice remained calm. I can give my property to anyone I choose. The law is clear. Mountain Thunder stepped forward, his massive frame casting a shadow over Carter. The land speculator stumbled backward, his confidence evaporating. Morrison cleared his throat. The transfer appears legal, Mr. Carter. Nothing you can do about it. Carter crumpled the deed in his fists. This isn't over, widow. You'll regret this madness. He mounted his horse and rode away, leaving a cloud of angry dust. The witnesses followed, shaking their heads in disbelief. Morrison lingered for a moment. Ma'am, I hope you know what you're doing. This town won't take kindly to this arrangement. Anna watched them disappear down the trail. She had given away everything she owned, but her heart felt lighter than it had in years. Mountain Thunder studied her with deep respect. He spoke carefully in his broken English. Why? You lose everything. Anna looked out over the rolling hills that Samuel had loved. My husband owed you a debt. Now it's paid. That afternoon, a young Apache boy appeared at the fence line, riding bareback on a painted pony. Mountain Thunder called out in his native language, and the boy approached cautiously. Anna watched as uncle and nephew embraced. The boy spoke fluent English, his voice bright with intelligence. My name is Little Eagle. Uncle Mountain Thunder sent word that he found the white man's family. Little Eagle translated as Mountain Thunder told his story. For 22 years, he had searched for Samuel or his relatives. The Apache way demanded that debts be honored, especially life debts. He had come alone, believing he was asking too much of a widow. Anna learned that Mountain Thunder's tribe had been forced from their ancestral lands by soldiers. They camped now in the Badlands, struggling to find enough game and water. Children went hungry while their parents searched for a new home. Uncle says you have honored the old ways, Little Eagle explained. But he cannot take your home. The debt is between warriors, not women. Anna smiled at the boy's earnest translation. Tell your uncle that Samuel was my warrior. His debt is mine to pay. Mountain Thunder listened to Little Eagle's translation, then spoke again. The boy's eyes widened with surprise. Uncle wants you to stay and work the land together. He says the ranch needs both of you to survive. Anna considered the offer. She had nowhere else to go, and the land needed constant care. More importantly, she sensed that Mountain Thunder was as lonely as she was. I accept his offer. Little Eagle rode away at sunset, carrying news of the arrangement back to the tribe. Anna and Mountain Thunder worked together to repair the barn roof, communicating through gestures and the few English words he knew. As darkness fell, Anna realized something had changed inside her. For the first time since Samuel's death, she wasn't facing the future alone. The cursed Black Widow had found an unlikely partner in the Apache giant, but in the distance, smoke signals rose against the evening sky. News of the land transfer spread through Esperanza like wildfire. By the second day, angry voices filled the saloon and general store. Anna heard the whispers when she rode into town for supplies. The cursed widow had finally lost her mind. Carter wasted no time organizing the opposition. He stood on the saloon steps, addressing a growing crowd of concerned citizens. His voice carried across the dusty street as Anna loaded flour and coffee into her wagon. That woman has betrayed every decent family in this territory. She's harboring a savage on land that should belong to civilized people. The crowd murmured agreement. Anna recognized most of the faces. Neighbors who had attended Samuel's funeral and brought casseroles after each of her husband's deaths. Now they looked at her with suspicion and disgust. Mrs. Henderson pushed through the group, her face flushed with righteous anger. Someone needs to talk sense into that woman before she brings the whole Apache nation down on our heads. Anna climbed onto her wagon seat and gathered the reins. The crowd parted reluctantly as she drove through town, their hostile stares following her all the way to the main road. At the ranch, Mountain Thunder was repairing the corral fence with surprising skill. His massive hands worked the wire with delicate precision, each twist perfectly placed. Anna watched him for a moment, remembering her second husband's similar expertise with ranching tasks. That evening, Little Eagle returned with disturbing news. He translated as Mountain Thunder spoke in rapid Apache, his expression growing more serious with each word. Uncle says Carter visited the army post at Fort Stevens. He told the soldiers that hostile Indians are gathering on stolen land. Anna's stomach tightened. Military intervention could destroy everything they were trying to build. She had seen what happened to peaceful Apache families caught in the Army's path. "How much time do we have?" Little Eagle conferred with his uncle. "Maybe 1 week, maybe less." Anna spent the night reviewing Samuel's legal papers by lamplight. Her second husband had been a lawyer before the fever took him, and she had learned much about property law during their brief marriage. The land transfer was solid, but that wouldn't matter if soldiers arrived with orders to remove hostile Indians. The next morning brought unwelcome visitors. Anna spotted the dust cloud while she was hanging laundry. Mountain Thunder appeared beside her, his hand resting on the knife at his belt. "Easy," Anna whispered. "Let me handle this." Sheriff Morrison rode up with 3 deputies, their faces grim with official business. Anna walked out to meet them, keeping her movements slow and non-threatening. "Morning, Anna. We need to talk." "About what, Sheriff?" Morrison glanced nervously at Mountain Thunder, who stood motionless beside the cabin. "There's been complaints. Folks are worried about having a warrior so close to town." Anna crossed her arms. "He owns this land legally, same as any other property holder." "That may be, but people are scared. Carter's been spreading stories about war parties and raids." "Look around, Sheriff. Do you see any war party?" Morrison surveyed the peaceful ranch. Laundry flapped in the breeze while chickens pecked in the yard. Mountain Thunder had returned to his fence repairs, pointedly ignoring the armed men. "I don't want trouble, Anna, but if the Army gets involved, things could get ugly fast." After the lawmen left, Anna found herself studying Mountain Thunder with new eyes. His every movement showed years of training and discipline. When he worked with the horses, they responded to his touch like he spoke their language. When he repaired tools, his hands moved with the confidence of a master craftsman. That night, Little Eagle shared more troubling news. A woman had been watching the ranch from the hillside for 3 days. An Apache woman, old and wise, who seemed to be evaluating everything that happened. She is Chenoa, sister to Uncle Mountain Thunder. She leads the Women's Council and speaks for the children. Anna felt a chill of understanding. The tribe was deciding whether to trust her. Everything she did was being judged by unseen eyes. The next evening, Anna discovered fresh tracks around the water well. Someone had been poisoning the cattle's drinking source with bitter herbs. 3 of her best cows were sick, and the rest refused to drink. Mountain Thunder examined the contaminated water, his face dark with anger. He spoke to Little Eagle in rapid Apache. "Uncle says this is Carter's work. He tries to make the ranch fail so you will give up." Anna stared at the poisoned well, remembering similar sabotage during her second husband's legal battles. Desperate men used desperate tactics when they couldn't win through honest means. "Tell your uncle I've seen this before. We'll dig a new well upstream." Mountain Thunder nodded approvingly. He had lived through enough conflicts to recognize determination when he saw it. Over the following days, the harassment escalated. Someone cut holes in the fence during the night, allowing cattle to wander onto neighboring property. Supply deliveries from town stopped arriving. The local bank suddenly demanded immediate payment on loans that had been current for years. Anna responded with skills learned from her varied marriages. Her first husband had taught her to shoot straight and defend property. Her second husband had shown her legal tricks for fighting corruption. Her third husband had been a businessman who understood financial pressure tactics, but it was Mountain Thunder who provided the most crucial skill. His warrior training allowed him to move through darkness like a ghost, gathering information about their enemies' plans. On the 7th night, Little Eagle arrived with urgent news. Chenoa wished to meet Anna face to face. The tribal council was ready to make their decision about the white woman who claimed to honor Apache ways. Anna prepared for the most important conversation of her life, not knowing that hundreds of warriors were already riding toward her ranch through the darkness. Dawn broke with an eerie stillness that made Anna's skin crawl. She had barely slept, knowing that Chenoa waited somewhere in the darkness to judge her worthiness. Mountain Thunder stood at the kitchen window, his massive frame tense with anticipation. Little Eagle had left before midnight to arrange the meeting. The silence stretched endlessly as Anna prepared coffee with shaking hands. Every sound seemed amplified in the morning air. Then Mountain Thunder's posture changed. His head tilted slightly, listening to something Anna couldn't hear. He moved to the front window and peered through the curtain. "Anna, come." She joined him at the window and gasped. The eastern horizon was alive with movement. Riders emerged from the morning mist like spirits materializing from another world. Dozens at first, then hundreds, their silhouettes dark against the rising sun. Anna's heart hammered against her ribs. "Are they coming to fight?" Mountain Thunder studied the approaching host with the eyes of a seasoned warrior. No weapons raised, they come in peace. The riders spread across the valley in perfect formation, their horses moving with disciplined precision. Anna had never seen so many Apache warriors in one place. The sight was both magnificent and terrifying. At the head of the column rode a figure that made Mountain Thunder straighten with surprise. The lead rider was nearly as massive as Mountain Thunder himself, bearing the same proud features and commanding presence. "Brother," Mountain Thunder whispered. Anna watched in amazement as the identical giant dismounted and walked toward the cabin. His every step radiated authority that made lesser men seem small. This was clearly a chief among chiefs. Little Eagle appeared at the chief's side, his young face serious with the weight of translation duties. Behind them came an elderly Apache woman whose weathered features spoke of wisdom earned through decades of hardship. Mountain Thunder stepped onto the porch, and the two giants embraced with the fierce joy of long-separated brothers. Anna remained in the doorway, suddenly aware that she was witnessing something far greater than a simple family reunion. Little Eagle turned to Anna with formal courtesy. "This is Chief Neshoba, war leader of our people and twin brother to Mountain Thunder. The woman is Chenoa, keeper of our laws and guardian of our children." Chief Neshoba studied Anna with eyes that seemed to pierce through her soul. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of mountains. Little Eagle translated carefully. "The chief says his brother sent word of a white woman who honors the old ways. The entire nation has come to witness this thing that has never been seen before." Anna felt the weight of hundreds of watching eyes. Every warrior, every elder, every young brave had traveled incredible distances to see if the stories were true. Her next words would echo through Apache memory for generations. Chenoa stepped forward and spoke in a voice like aged leather. Little Eagle's translation came quickly. "She says, the Women's Council has watched you for many days. They have seen your actions toward Mountain Thunder. They have seen how you work the land and tend the animals. But now they must hear your words." Chief Neshoba gestured toward a circle of stones that the warriors had quickly arranged in the yard. This was to be a formal council, conducted according to ancient traditions that predated the arrival of white settlers by centuries. Anna took her place in the center of the circle, surrounded by faces that represented the accumulated wisdom of an entire people. Samuel's journal lay heavy in her hands, the key to everything that was about to unfold. She opened to the page that contained her husband's careful drawings of Mountain Thunder's silver armband. Chief Neshoba examined the sketches with growing recognition, comparing them to his brother's actual jewelry. 22 years ago, your brother saved my husband's life," Anna began, waiting for Little Eagle's translation. "Samuel never forgot the debt he owed." She read Samuel's written promise aloud, her voice carrying clearly in the morning air. The warriors listened intently as Little Eagle conveyed every word in their native tongue. Chief Neshoba spoke at length, his tone shifting from formal questioning to something approaching wonder. Little Eagle struggled to keep up with the rapid Apache phrases. "The chief says Mountain Thunder told them of a blizzard in the white man's mountains. He found a dying stranger and carried him for 2 days through the snow. The man gave him this armband as payment, but Mountain Thunder had forgotten his name." Anna held up Samuel's journal, pointing to her husband's signature on every page. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Chenoa rose and walked slowly around Anna, examining her with the thoroughness of a medicine woman diagnosing illness. She spoke in measured tones that commanded absolute attention from every person present. She says, "You have given away everything you owned to honor a debt that was not yours to pay. This is the action of someone who understands Apache law better than many who were born to it." Chief Neshoba conferred quietly with his advisors, their discussion punctuated by glances toward Anna and Mountain Thunder. The weight of their deliberation pressed down on the assembled crowd like storm clouds gathering strength. Finally, the chief stood and raised his hands for silence. His voice boomed across the valley as he delivered his judgment. Every warrior, every elder, every child listened to words that would reshape their understanding of what was possible between two peoples. Little Eagle's translation came with obvious emotion. Chief Neshoba declares that you will be known as she who honors debts. You are now sister to Mountain Thunder, daughter of our nation, and keeper of this sacred ground. Chenoa approached Anna carrying an ancient knife in a beaded sheath. The blade had belonged to their father, the great chief who had taught both brothers the meaning of honor. As Anna accepted the sacred weapon, the eastern horizon erupted with dust clouds that meant only one thing. Carter was coming with federal marshals. The dust cloud approached with military precision. Anna clutched the sacred knife as Carter rode at the head of a column that included 3 federal marshals and a dozen armed townsmen. His face showed the satisfaction of a man who believed victory was finally within reach. Chief Neshoba observed the approaching force with the calm assessment of a veteran war leader. He spoke quietly to his warriors, who shifted their positions without obvious movement. Anna realized that hundreds of Apache fighters had just prepared for battle while appearing to remain perfectly still. Carter dismounted 50 yards from the council circle, clearly expecting the Apache to scatter at the sight of federal authority. Instead, he found himself facing an ocean of impassive faces that showed no fear whatsoever. Marshal Davidson stepped forward, his badge glinting in the morning sun. He was a weathered man who had obviously dealt with frontier conflicts before, but even he seemed shaken by the sheer number of Apache warriors surrounding them. "I'm here to investigate reports of hostile Indians occupying stolen land," Davidson announced. "Which one of you is in charge?" Chief Neshoba rose to his full, imposing height. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of generations of leadership. Little Eagle translated with perfect formality. "Chief Neshoba asks why you bring weapons to a peaceful gathering on legally owned property." Carter pushed past the marshal, his face red with frustration. "That woman gave away land to savages. It's an insult to every decent settler in this territory." Anna stepped forward, still holding Samuel's journal. "Marshal Davidson, the land transfer was conducted legally and properly witnessed. You're welcome to examine the documentation." Davidson accepted the deed and studied it carefully. His practiced eye found no flaws in the legal language or official signatures. The document was ironclad under territorial law. "The transfer appears legitimate," Davidson admitted reluctantly. "But Mr. Carter claims these Indians are preparing for war." Chief Neshoba gestured to the peaceful council circle and spoke again. Little Eagle's translation carried a hint of amusement. "The chief asks what kind of war council includes grandmothers and children." For the first time, Davidson seemed to notice the Apache families scattered throughout the gathering. Women held babies while elderly men shared pipes in the morning sun. Children played quietly near their parents, showing none of the tension that would precede violence. Carter sputtered with rage. "They're savages, Marshal. You can't trust what they show you." Chief Neshoba's expression hardened at the insult, but his voice remained controlled. Little Eagle translated with obvious pride. "The chief says Elias Carter knows nothing of trust, since he has spent months stealing land through lies and false documents." Anna seized the moment she had been waiting for. She pulled a folder from beneath Samuel's journal and handed it to Marshal Davidson. "Speaking of false documents, you might want to examine Mr. Carter's business practices." Davidson opened the folder and found detailed records of Carter's fraud schemes. Anna had spent weeks documenting forged tax liens, bribed officials, and illegal property seizures. Her second husband's legal training had taught her exactly what evidence federal authorities would need. Where did you get this information? Public records mostly, plus testimony from families Carter has swindled over the past 2 years. Carter's face went pale as Davidson spread the documents across a wooden crate. The evidence was overwhelming and methodically organized. Bank records showed payments to corrupt tax assessors. Forged signatures appeared on multiple seizure orders. Testimony from witnesses detailed Carter's threats against families who couldn't pay his inflated demands. Marshal Davidson looked up from the papers with disgust. "Mr. Carter, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and extortion." Carter backed toward his horse, desperation replacing his earlier confidence. "You can't believe the word of that cursed woman and her savage friends." "I believe documented evidence and sworn testimony." Chief Neshoba spoke again, and this time his words carried the weight of final judgment. Little Eagle translated with satisfaction. "The chief says justice has many faces, but truth always finds a way to reveal itself." Davidson's deputies moved to arrest Carter, but he spurred his horse and fled toward town. Anna watched him disappear in a cloud of desperate dust, knowing he would never threaten her land again. The remaining townsmen shuffled uncomfortably, realizing they had been manipulated by Carter's lies. Several approached Anna with awkward apologies, admitting they had never investigated his wild claims about Indian uprisings. Sheriff Morrison rode up just as the confrontation ended. He surveyed the peaceful scene with obvious relief, having feared he would find a battlefield instead of a legal proceeding. "Looks like everything's been resolved peacefully." Marshal Davidson gathered the evidence against Carter. "We'll need witnesses for the trial. This kind of systematic fraud carries serious federal penalties." Anna nodded, knowing that justice through proper legal channels was far more satisfying than any revenge. Carter would face years in prison while his victims recovered their stolen property. Chief Neshoba spoke to his assembled warriors, and they began preparing to depart. Their purpose had been accomplished. The white woman who honored debts had been tested and found worthy. The sacred bond between Mountain Thunder and Samuel had been formally recognized. But Chenoa approached Anna with one final message. Little Eagle translated the elderly woman's words with obvious emotion. "She says the tribe will not forget what happened here today. When you need help, send word through the smoke signals. You will never stand alone again." As the Apache nation prepared to return to their distant camps, Anna realized that her greatest victory was not keeping the land or defeating Carter. She had found a family that would last forever. 3 weeks after Carter's arrest, the ranch had transformed into something Anna never could have imagined. Apache families arrived each morning to help with construction projects that would have taken her and Mountain Thunder months to complete alone. The new trading post rose beside the main cabin, its sturdy frame built with techniques that blended Apache craftsmanship with frontier practicality. Women from the tribe taught Anna to weave baskets while their children played with the ranch dogs in the yard. Mountain Thunder worked alongside young Apache men, sharing his knowledge of cattle management and fence repair. His broken English improved daily as he practiced with anyone willing to listen. Anna watched him transform from a solitary warrior into a bridge between two worlds. Little Eagle had officially moved to the ranch, sleeping in the loft above the trading post. Anna began the legal process of adopting him, ensuring he would inherit the property if anything happened to her or Mountain Thunder. The boy's quick intelligence and bilingual skills made him invaluable for managing relationships with both communities. The first white customers arrived on a Tuesday morning. The Henderson family approached cautiously, drawn by rumors of high-quality Apache metalwork and beadwork. Mrs. Henderson, who had once called Anna cursed, now examined silver jewelry with obvious admiration. "These are beautiful," she admitted to Anna. "I never knew Indians could create such delicate work." Anna smiled patiently. "There's a lot we never knew about each other." The trading post became profitable within its first week. Apache craftspeople produced goods that frontier families couldn't find anywhere else, while white settlers offered tools and supplies that the tribe needed for their new camps. Sheriff Morrison visited regularly, always finding peaceful scenes that contradicted everything he had been told about Indian savages. Apache children learned English words while white youngsters picked up basic Apache phrases. The cultural exchange happened naturally, without the suspicion and fear that had poisoned relationships for decades. Judge Harrison arrived from the territorial capital to oversee Carter's trial. Anna testified for 2 hours, presenting evidence that documented years of systematic fraud. Other victims came forward with similar stories of threats, forged documents, and illegal seizures. Carter received 15 years in federal prison. His co-conspirators faced similar sentences. The judge ordered full restitution to all families who had lost property through the schemes, restoring justice to an entire region. Anna stood outside the courthouse, watching Carter disappear into a prison wagon. She felt no satisfaction in his suffering, only relief that he could never harm innocent families again. Little Eagle waited beside her, translating for Chenoa, who had traveled from the tribal camps to witness the white man's justice. "Grandmother says the spirits are pleased," Little Eagle reported. "Truth has defeated lies, and honor has defeated greed." Back at the ranch, Mountain Thunder was teaching Apache boys to rope cattle while Anna instructed their sisters in reading and arithmetic. The informal school had started accidentally when children began gathering each morning to watch the daily activities. Anna discovered she had a natural talent for teaching. Her 3 marriages had given her knowledge of law, business, and ranching that few frontier women possessed. Sharing these skills with eager young minds brought her more joy than she had experienced in years. Mountain Thunder proved equally gifted at passing on his expertise. His patient instruction in horsemanship and animal care produced skilled young ranchers who could work comfortably in either Apache or white communities. The ranch's success attracted attention from territorial officials who had initially opposed the land transfer. Governor Walsh visited on a fact-finding mission, expecting to find evidence supporting renewed conflict between settlers and Indians. Instead, he found prosperity and cooperation that exceeded anything achieved through government programs. Apache families were successfully transitioning from nomadic hunting to settled ranching. White settlers were learning skills and crafts that improved their own quality of life. Anna gave the governor a tour of the facilities, explaining how the trading post model could be replicated throughout the territory. Mountain Thunder demonstrated training techniques that produced better cattle than traditional frontier methods. "This could be the solution to our Indian troubles," Walsh admitted privately to Anna. "Not forced removal or military action, but genuine partnership." Anna nodded, remembering Samuel's words about building bridges instead of walls. Her husband had been wiser than he knew when he promised the land to Mountain Thunder's people. That evening, Anna sat on her porch watching Apache and white children play together in the yard. Little Eagle was teaching everyone a traditional story game that required players to speak in both languages. Mountain Thunder joined her on the porch, his massive frame settling into a chair that creaked under his weight. His English had improved enough for simple conversations, though they often communicated perfectly without words. "Happy?" he asked, using one of his favorite New English words. Anna considered the question seriously. 3 months ago, she had been the cursed Black Widow, alone and despised by her community. Tonight, she was surrounded by family that had chosen her as surely as she had chosen them. "Yes," she answered, "very happy." In the distance, smoke signals rose against the evening sky. But now Anna knew they carried messages of friendship and prosperity, instead of warnings about conflict and danger. She had lost everything she thought mattered, and discovered everything that actually did. The land belonged to Mountain Thunder now, but home belonged to all of them together. The cursed widow had finally found her blessing, and it was bigger than she had ever dared to dream.